Greetings, fellow earthlings, and welcome to Tales from the Hoop, a podcast dedicated to diving into the weird, wild, and wacky stories from basketball history. I am your host, Ricky Freck, and today I'm telling the story of some of the stars of the ABA to my brother.
Laser Dave.
All right, today we're talking about a team in the ABA. Of course, I don't know why I said it like that. Um, I do you have any idea? Do you have any knowledge about the Stars?
I didn't know there was a team named the Stars.
Okay, good, great.
So, no.
So
I thought we
today's
were getting I kind of thought the structure of the season was going to be like we're getting from like lesser known teams to better known
mm,
teams. And so I'm surprised to hear that after the Pacers we're doing the Stars.
so the actual structure of the season, just to peek behind the curtain here, is I have picked a bunch. I know a bunch of teams that are going to take a long time,
Hmm.
and I have been trying to put them in where I have the time to do it. And
Hmm.
another peek behind the curtain here. Most of these episodes, we do this every 2 weeks.
Yep.
Most of these episodes are written the day before we record.
You do a great job.
I have a lot of time, and I keep putting it off because I have so much other stuff going on. My job, I don't look. My job is not normal. I work as a quote unquote video games journalist and
Hmm.
YouTuber,
Yep.
and it's not so much that I am have a lot of work or like work long hours. It's that I always have projects ongoing. Today I
Hmm.
have like 5 things I need to do, and we leave on a vacation type thing, sort of. Both of us leave tomorrow. So we got to
Yep.
get this out and up and ready to go. So today's is going to be a relatively short episode, which I saved on purpose, knowing that I was going to be in Davenport, Iowa for 4 days,
Oh yeah.
come back home for 2 days, record this podcast, and then leave for another 5 days, 4 days. So this one is short by design. And then
Can't
after
wait.
that, we will get to some of I won't have to travel for a while. So then we will get to all of the long ones. So
Some
get ready because we're getting to the Kentucky Colonels,
ooh.
the Denver Nuggets, the
Oh, the Denver Nuggets for ABA. Wow.
the San Antonio Spurs,
Excited for that one.
and my favorite team, which I will let you know right now. I don't know if it's going to be one of the longer ones, but it will be the last one. The
Okay.
Spirits of St. Louis, because it is my by far my favorite team.
Wow.
Even the best for
Spirit.
last.
The Spirits or Spirit?
Spirits. The Spirits of St. Louis. The Spirit of St. Louis, I believe, is an airplane.
That's I like Spirit more, I think. The
It-
team name is the Spirits of St. Louis, not the St. Louis Spirits.
yeah, the Spirits of St. Louis.
I feel like it should be Spirit, but I don't know. Maybe we can have it out later.
We'll get there. Okay, so in 1967, Art Kim and James Ackerman put up $30,000 to start a charter ABA franchise in Anaheim.
It's so funny, these numbers every time. The number
So,
gets me. Just I know it's
yeah,
inflation and stuff, but I'm like, and they were a fledgling basketball
yeah,
league.
yeah.
But it's just so like you would never. I can't imagine that an XFL team cost, you know, less than 30,000. That's what players would get paid to be in the league,
Yeah, roughly, yeah.
like a minor league or like a
yeah,
upstart league.
the best players are making probably like half of 30 grand. So they were just
Okay,
trying to get teams in there, right? So,
right. It's
um,
so funny.
but it is, I mean, yeah, like you're saying, you're talking about inflation. I don't know. So I was about to say it's a ton of money, but I realize that my brain is right now broken because on our drive from Davenport, we listened to a 3-part podcast about a man named Aleister Crowley,
Okay.
who is a member of the occult. And he was given $40,000 when he was like 16 years old or something, somewhere around there. I don't know the specifics. That was in like 1870.
Wow.
And the UK has a website that you can go back and they have estimated inflation back to the 1500s
Oh
for the
wow. Okay.
euro.
Okay.
So the $40,000 he was given, I looked it up, today would be worth $4.5 million dollars. I'm assuming 30K from 1967 is like 500,000, but
Yes.
still.
I don't know.
Also, Aleister Crowley, crazy guy. You should listen to something about him, whether you like basketball or I know this is a basketball podcast. He has no relation to basketball.
Okay.
Crazy guy, and
But still
also
interesting.
he lost all that money. So,
Oh,
you know,
interesting.
don't want to give your kids money too early. You got to wait until they're, I
Hmm.
don't know how, 37, I would say is a great time to
Yeah.
give your kids all of their
Call your
money.
father.
Rick, if you're listening, in
37.
1940, in 1946, he started a league in Hawaii with with the servicemen station there, eventually getting that team to play against the Harlem Globetrotters.
Ooh,
And then
nice.
he, at some point, it's kind of confusing because in the book, which we use a lot of the quotes for, Loose Balls by Terry Pluto. In that book, they say that he's like involved with the Washington Generals, but I was trying to
Hmm.
look, and the Washington Generals don't list him at all, so I don't know exactly how he was involved. But as you probably know, they're the longtime rivals of the Globetrotters, and
Yep.
I don't know if you can call them rivals if you've won like two times in 60 years, but it is what it is.
But that's like the point, right?
Yeah, it is the point.
So, yeah, I mean,
I watched
rivals,
a I watched a
yeah.
video. This is off topic but on topic. I watched a video that someone made the other day of the best dunk at every height. It was very strange. It's made by a YouTuber who covers like high school sports, right? So they started at 5'5", they went up to 8 foot tall. Every height except for 5'7" and 8 foot were high school dunks, right? Like it'd be Anthony Edwards was one of the 6'4" guys. So, but he was in
Okay.
high school. It's not an Anthony Edwards dunk now.
Yeah.
5'7" for some reason was an in-game dunk in the NBA from Spud Webb.
Okay.
And 8 foot, which I understand a little bit more because it's probably very rare to have an 8 foot guy, was a guy named who goes by Tiny, who plays for the Harlem Globetrotters, and it was a Harlem Globetrotters dunk.
Interesting.
And I was like, why do we have like Kevin Porter Jr. and Anthony Edwards and Seventh Woods dunking while they're in high school? And
Right.
those are the best dunks of that height ever. But
Right.
you're telling me you couldn't find a 5'7" high schooler dunking, but you can find a
Yeah.
5'5"? It was very strange. I didn't understand the video. Also, they
Hmm.
played an honorable mention, and the honorable mention was a guy missing a dunk. So I don't know if they were just like part of it was a
Come
joke,
on. Come on.
but 90% of that video was not a joke. And then they had Spud Webb dunking and a guy missing a dunk. So I don't. It was a very weird video. Please explain
Or
Courtside Films.
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they just spent hours and hours like scouring the internet looking for some 5'7" and they just couldn't find it. And they're like, you know
I
what?
mean,
Like maybe it was at the end of the project
yeah,
and they were
maybe.
just like, I'm over it. I'm just gonna
I
this
mean,
is the 5'7" one I can find.
the guy that runs it, I mean, he has like 500,000 subs. He runs his own basketball camps. He gets great footage of like really good players in high school.
Hmm.
It was very strange that he couldn't find a single five
Right.
foot seven high school dunk, but oh well. Let's get back to Art Kim because Kim then started the Hawaii/Long Beach Chiefs in the short-lived American Basketball League,
Hmm.
which we had talked about a little bit previously in the intro episode to the ABA. That league was kind of the precursor, and it had folded in 1963 after just a few
Hawaii
years.
Hawaii seems crazy.
Yeah, that's a lot of travel back in the day.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be too bad today, I guess, but also I don't know how many fans you're gonna get at a
Still,
Hawaii
yeah,
game.
like it seems maybe it's like the only thing it's kind of like Oklahoma. Like it's the only
Yeah,
team, so maybe there's a rally around it, but
or like Las Vegas, right? Like I know Las Vegas is obviously bigger than Hawaii, but Las
yeah.
Vegas, the reason they have a football team is because like if you're in Las Vegas, you got to
What
have
else are
stuff
you
to
gonna
do,
do?
so you
Yeah.
might as well just go to the watch the Raiders play.
Yeah.
So maybe it would work, but probably not. So Art Kim had some front office knowledge in the basketball world, and that was something of a rarity in the early days of the ABA. And Anaheim had looked like it had what it took to establish itself as one of the bright stars of the fledgling league, and potentially, and this was the big part, potentially give it a backdoor franchise to Los Angeles. So
Mm.
they were going to start in Anaheim and then hope to move into LA to compete with the Lakers because they knew not so much compete with the Lakers, I guess, but they knew that like the TV market would help if they got into LA, right? So
Mm. Yeah.
that was kind of the plan. Kim announced the team would be called the Anaheim Amigos, which is a great name.
Great name.
And Al Brighton would be the head coach. He had played for the Celtics for a year I believe in the 40s, maybe the 50s, and then coached for several years in college.
That's a great way to introduce yourself. Al, Anaheim Amigos.
The AAA. Now, that 68 season, the very first season of the ABA, was pretty boring if you're a fan of the Amigos. They went 25 and 52. They had
Okay.
a big 7 foot center named Larry Bunce, who they were hoping was going to be a big star, and he did not live up to expectations. In fact, the team
Sad.
was so bad and so injured that Dick Lee, real name, who was working in PR for the team and had previously played a little bit of college basketball, was recruited to the roster and played in
Okay.
2 games.
Great. Yeah, it's bad when you're just like, anybody played? Let's just open trial. Let's do
Please,
it.
somebody.
Yeah.
Really, the only player worth talking about during that first season was a guy named Les Selvage. And that was only because he led the league in 3 pointers attempted. Can you guess how many 3 pointers he attempted per game that season?
Per game,
Per game
two
to
and a
lead the
half.
league. Wow. Okay, what if I tell you that his number is very similar to
Okay.
Lou Dort in 2025?
Oh,
You know how many threes Lou Dort attempted last year?
in
Led the Thunder
2025,
technically.
six and a
Yes,
half.
he attempted 6 3 pointers a
Okay.
night to lead the
Wow.
league. So of
Wow.
course, nowadays, like I said, that's just Lou Dort numbers. We're not even close to like James Harden or anything.
Yeah.
In the late 60s, definitely something of a novelty. And the Amigos could have definitely used more of those because almost no one came to the games.
Yikes.
Kim and the owners lost about 500 grand during that first season, so they sold the team to a man named James J. Kirst, who moved the team to Los Angeles. And he made one big move that first year, and that was bringing in Bill Sharman, who
Hmm.
didn't turn the team around that first season, but was instrumental in the development of two players in 1970, the next year, that would lead to a major turnaround. So now I'm going to read out of my book because I didn't want to type these out myself. So here we are from Loose Balls. Here's Mac Calvin talking about his start to the ABA. So I was drafted by the Los Angeles Lakers in the 12th round of 1969. They took me just because I was a local guy. They had no interest in me as a player. The NBA was not going to give serious consideration to a 6 foot guard. They didn't realize what quickness meant. I think the Lakers offered me a Jerry West t shirt and a free bus ticket to the LA Forum. I was fortunate when Bill Sharman drafted me to play for the Stars. Bill had gone to Southern Cal. He knew me. He knew my coach. I negotiated my own contract. I got 12 grand if I lasted the whole season, 3,000 if I made the team. And now here's Larry Krager. He says Bill Sharman and I wanted Willie Wise going into the draft, but Jim Hardy, our GM, had seen Wise play and he decided he didn't like Willie, so he overruled us. When the draft was over, both Bill and I were upset that we didn't draft Willie Wise, but no one else had either. Bill got me
Hey.
in touch with Willie, and Willie told me Golden State drafted me, but they won't even pay my bus fare so I can go and try out. We told Willie that we'd at least pay for his travel to try out with us, and we give him a fair chance to make the team. We thought he'd have to earn it. We thought he'd have an ugh, we thought he'd have a chance to earn a spot on our bench, but I'd be lying if I said we had the slightest idea that he would become one of the best players in the history of the league.
Hmm.
Now, here is Mac Calvin, just a little bit more from him. Willie Wise and I really came up together. We rode to training camp together every day. We were both sweating out being cut, and we used to almost run out of the gym as soon as practice was over because that was when they would cut people. They'd see a rookie around after practice, call him over, and then he was gone. So Willie and I would blow out of there. A lot of people thought Willie was strange, and I think that was why he wasn't drafted higher. He was with Drake during the 1969 Final Four, and he said that he didn't really want to play pro basketball. He wanted to drive a truck for a living.
Great.
He was a reborn Seventh day Adventist, and people thought he might not play pro ball because of his religious convictions.
Hmm. I don't see how that works, but I do. A lot of the salaries we've heard over this series, I'm like, truck driver might not be like a terrible
Yeah, you're not wrong.
idea. It's
Yeah,
probably easier.
I don't know what a truck driver was making. It is, I mean, I know like our family has been very involved in the truck driving business. There is some appeal there if I didn't have to drive, like if I could just drive a truck, but it'd be a normal car and just be in my
Mm.
car listening to podcasts all day. There's an appeal to that.
I mean, there's a lot of truckers that have a bad reputation for like they won't actually do any of the non-trucking work. Like they just drive, they park,
Yeah.
and they like go on break while
Yeah.
people are, unloading and like
Yeah.
doing all the
Yeah.
manual labor to get stuff off the truck when
Yeah.
they could be like out of there if they would just help out a little.
Right.
I'm not trying to, throw any truckers under the bus. I've just heard stories about how there are truckers that it's literally like I'm driving and that's it.
Sounds great to me.
I'm gonna take a nap if I'm not driving.
That's what I would want to do. Okay, so Sharman made another shrewd move that season, but it actually wouldn't pay off until 1971. And that's because the Stars decided to sign Zelmo Beatty. Do you
Hmm.
know who Zelmo Beatty is?
We've talked about him before.
Yeah. So
He's
he
a
is a
person in the ABA.
he was a Boston Celtics legend.
That's what I said.
He's a Hall of Famer. I believe he was a first overall draft pick as well. So he already had a contract. I don't know if it was with the Celtics or another team. I can't remember. So he had to sit out of a season due to the option clause, which we talked about when we talked
Yeah,
about
yeah,
Wilt
yeah.
Chamberlain. Also, I didn't really talk about this in the thing, but the Stars did try to sign Wilt Chamberlain, and it did not work out.
Mm.
Anyways, still, Calvin and Wise led an instant turnaround. Calvin was one of, if not the fastest players in the league, and the wide open ABA perfectly suited his style. Meanwhile, Wise was one of the great perimeter defenders in the league. He could shoot and rebound too, but his knack for getting into stars like Julius Ervin, Rick Barry, and Roger Brown's hip pocket and never leaving made him an all-star. Both players played with more heart than anyone else on the court, which might be explained by how tough it was for them to get noticed in the pro ranks before their rookie seasons. So they got two young rookies. I don't really talk about it here, but they brought in a guy named Ron Boone at some point who was like just a good shooter. And so they had a pretty nice little course. So the Stars surprisingly made the playoffs that year and sprinted to an ABA finals matchup against the Indiana Pacers.
It's
It-
so crazy to hear like even these teams you've never heard of, and you're like, oh, they were in the championship. Okay.
yeah. They lost in six, but it was an impressive turnaround. So impressive.
I guess that's just the way that it goes over time.
Yeah, sometimes. It was so impressive that Kirst didn't even book the LA Sports Arena for the playoffs.
Hmm.
So the team had to play several games back in Anaheim and a few in Long Beach
Perfect. Yeah.
because they couldn't get into their own stadium. Now, they did have the success, right? But despite it, the team couldn't really compete with the Lakers and the UCLA Bruins. They averaged only 2,500 fans per game. And even though they had just played for a title, Kirst sold the team to Bill Daniels, who was a pioneer of cable TV in Colorado. He was originally wanted to move the team to Albuquerque, but
Okay. Yep.
then he
Totally.
visited Salt Lake City and he
Okay.
said, "Hey, this is a really good town."
I'd rather live here than in Albuquerque.
And he sent them to Salt Lake and renamed them the Utah Stars.
Okay. Utah Stars.
So ahead of that very first season, Beatty was finally going to join the first season in Utah, excuse me.
Okay.
Beatty was finally going to join the team. However, the owners decided they needed to make a splash, and they traded Calvin to Miami, which we actually talked about in the Miami episode that Matt Calvin joined the team. They traded him for Donnie Freeman, a taller guard who put up points in a hurry in Miami. As we discussed in the Miami episode, Calvin went on to make the next six All-Star teams, and as we're discussing now, Freeman was traded after 24 games, which I think I actually misspoke. I believe Freeman was traded for Boone. So I think they
Hmm.
didn't have Boone for that first title run or the first finals run.
Okay. Yeah.
So Calvin kind of had the last laugh personally. Unfortunately for him, the Stars ended up being even better than they were the year before. So here is Zelmo Beatty talking to us. I had averaged 21 points in each of my last two seasons with the Hawks. So like I said, he wasn't playing with the Celtics anymore. He moved to the Hawks.
Okay. Yep.
And I was making $37,000. And I should also point out that Beatty was the second player, maybe he says this, but I'm going to say it here just in case that he doesn't, the second player to jump after Rick Barry. So,
Hmm.
uh, and he was 31 when he jumped. So a little old, but whatever. That doesn't sound like much after 7 seasons, but I was the highest paid player on the team. I felt I was worth a lot more than $37,000, but the Hawks were probably the cheapest team in the NBA. What has changed? For years, they could get away with it by saying if you didn't play for the Hawks, you couldn't play anywhere. But then the ABA came around and there was an alternative. So what he's saying there, if it's not clear, there wasn't really free agency, right? Because you
Hmm.
you either had to sign with your team with the option clause or sit
Right.
out a year. So players didn't want to sit out and miss money, so they would just stay with their team. A lot of
Right.
times, not always, but a lot of times. The Stars offered me about 250,000 a year for 4 years. The Hawks
Oh my
wouldn't even
gosh.
think about paying me 100,000. They didn't even want to pay me 50,000. Now here's where we get into the fun math of the ABA. The Stars offer was for 600, or excuse me, 600. I wish he wishes 60,000 in cash annually and 190,000 deferred. So I had 760,000 deferred, and it was supposed to be paid out over 10 years. Instead, it took them 15 years to pay all that I was owed, and there was a lawsuit. It got all messed up when the Stars folded, which a little bit of a, I guess, is a little bit of a foreboding when the Stars
Yeah.
folded in 1975. For a while, I was even receiving checks from the St. Louis Spurs, even though I never played for them, which you'll understand later. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I mean, it sounds horrible, but it's also like when you're taking a chance on a startup of
Yeah.
any kind, you're kind of like, it's like I might get paid a
Yeah.
butt ton if we are successful, but I might also, might
Right.
all be in the
Yeah.
toilet, and my stock options or whatever are like worth nothing. So,
So
but I
continue.
mean,
Oh,
even just cash moving from Atlanta, you got to take it.
yeah, and I assume Utah is cheaper than Atlanta. I don't know that for sure, but I would think that 60 grand would go further. It's
I
almost
would think
double
so.
either way. So here's some more from Beatty. I was the second player to jump from the NBA to the ABA. Rick Barry was the first when he went from Golden State to Oakland Oaks, and the courts made both of us sit out a season. The irony of all this was that the Hawks filed a lawsuit to keep me and said I was worth $4 million. Yet they thought I was crazy and I asked for 100,000.
Yeah.
While the Stars had had that great year with Mac, Calvin, and Willie Wise when rookies, I couldn't even practice with the team. I worked in the service department at a bank in LA handling accounts. At night, I went to the Stars game to watch as a fan, but something that always stuck with me happened when I was in the LA Stars dressing room after they were eliminated by the Indiana in the finals. Bill Sharman talked to the team for a while, then looked at me and said, "Next year, we're going to win it all with Zelmo." That made me really want to play for that man. And here's some more from Larry Krieger. Zelmo was a terrific, underrated player. Wilt Chamberlain said that Zelmo gave him more trouble than anyone. At 6'9", Zelmo was dwarfed by Wilt, but he was so strong. He knew how to spread himself out and get a lot of leverage from his legs. He was also an outstanding outside shooter, so he would draw the big man away from the basket to cover him. And when they say outside shooter, I'm assuming like 12 feet, not like 3-point line, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Yeah.
Where were we? Let's see. He had a tremendous attitude and worked hard. He'd tell our young players, "We're going to play 84 games this season, and if you're playing as hard as you should, you'll be sore after each of those games. So get used to the pain and being beat up." He wouldn't let guys say they were too sore to practice. He'd shame them into playing. He also knew every little trick in the book. Players would complain that he held them, that he grabbed their trunks. He needed to do those things because Zelmo just couldn't jump. The guys used to say that he couldn't dunk. Well, Zelmo could, but he didn't like to. It took too much effort, too much out of his legs. And one
Interesting.
and one last thing from Zelmo, considering how bad my knees were, sitting out a year wasn't the worst thing that could happen. It let me rest my knees, and I came back to have the best year of my career because my knees were in good shape. They started to break down after that, but it felt strong all during that season. However,
Okay.
just having Zelmo Beatty was not quite like, I mean, it was great, but it wasn't
Yeah.
all that it wasn't the whole thing that led to what happens next because Sharman was also a big reason for that. So I apologize, we've got a lot of quotes here, but I'm going to keep going with some more quotes, starting with one from Larry Krieger. Bill Sharman was more than a great coach. He really was a pioneer. Things we take for granted on the pro level, the shoot around, preparation with films, and in depth scouting reports can be traced back to Sharman. He literally had the very first shoot around in basketball history.
Interesting. Super important, I feel like.
Yeah. When he put them into place, they were considered revolutionary. Bill was probably the first coach to consistently and effectively use films. He subscribed to the "a picture is worth 1,000 words" theory. You could tell a guy over and over that he doesn't box out when rebounding, or you can tell him that his left elbow is too far out when he shoots, and he might believe you or he might not. And I have a feeling, from what I know from the ABA, a lot of those guys would not believe him. Um, but but if you show the film to a player where he can see that he isn't boxing out or that his elbow is too far out, it makes an impact. The player can't deny what he sees with his own eyes. Before every game, you could walk into our dressing room and find a film of our opponent playing. The guys could watch it while they got dressed or not. But Bill figured that if a television was on, most people will inevitably watch it, which, not wrong.
Not wrong.
And then just, more stuff about him. But then here's Mac Calvin, excuse me. I keep doing that because what a weird name.
Yeah, I don't like it.
But anyways, here's him talking a little bit about Bill Sharman as well, despite not being there this season. I owe a great deal of my success to Bill Sharman. In 17 years in pro basketball as a player and an assistant coach, I've never been around a coach who brought more intangibles, who paid attention to more little things than Bill Sharman did. When I was a rookie, Bill had me keep a notebook on all the guards I faced, how to defend them, which way they liked to go when they drove to the basket, right or left, how they played me, to the right or left. He wanted me to think about the game after it was over, and then write it down, anything that struck me about the guys I played against that night. He said I was small, and I needed every edge. When I played for Bill, he was 43 years old, and he'd get out there and scrimmage with us. He covered me, and he knocked me on my tail, leveled me with an elbow. He'd say, "Mac, if you don't start getting physical, these guys are going to run you out of the league." So I started shoving him back, and he never said a word. That was what he was looking for. He was preparing me. That's why I made it as a pro, because Bill had an open mind about little guards, and then he taught me the little things that I needed to survive. So we're gonna do some more. This is going to be the end of the quote dump here in a second, but we got to do one more. Sorry, there's a lot, and it's just easier to do the quote. So the team stormed back to the playoffs, earning the second best record in the West behind the Pacers. They swept Texas in round one, and then faced the Pacers in the Western Conference Finals. So here are some of the players. Really, it's just the same guys because we go Beatty, Krager, Beatty. But here we go. Here's it in their words. When the playoffs came, we knew that we'd have to get by Indiana to make the finals. In the first round, we faced Dallas. We were a much better team, and we swept them. At the same time, Indiana swept Memphis in the first round. So in the semis, it was the Pacers against us. A year before, Indiana had beaten us in the ABA finals when we were in LA. So that's kind of important that they had switched divisions, right? What was appealing about the series was the matchups. Small forward, Roger Brown versus Willie Wise. Power forward, Bob Netolicky versus Red Robbins. Center, Mel Daniels versus Zelmo Beatty. Point guard, Freddie Lewis versus Merv Jackson or Glenn Combs. Shooting guard, Billy Keller versus Ron Boone. I also like to watch Slick Leonard coached against Bill Sharman. When we played in Indiana and got a lead late in the game, Smith would do something to get kicked out. One night he kicked over a chair. Another time he threw the ball at an official really hard and then went over and pounded his fist on the scoring table. When Slick got ejected, it seemed that his team always came back to win. There was a lot of pride at stake. We felt that Willie Wise was the best small forward in the league. They said Roger Brown was. This is him saying this, not me. And I agree. This was before Julius Erving came into the league. He wanted to make that clear.
Okay. I mean, makes a lot of sense in retrospect.
Yeah.
So
at center, Mel Daniels was the MVP, and I was the first center to come into the league who could physically deal with him. That's a great thing to say. Some people were saying that I had passed Mel as the best center in the league, and Mel didn't like that. There was a lot of debate about who had the better backcourt. The series naturally went to 7 games, and when we came out on top, I knew we'd win the title. Ours was the kind of talent that team. Ours wasn't the kind of team that let down. And here's Larry Krager with a little bit more. The Indiana series was the key to the title. We had a 3-2 lead and then lost the 6th game in Salt Lake. That shocked everyone because we always seemed to win at home. So it was 3-3 with the 7th game in Indianapolis, and everyone assumed the Pacers would win. So Bill put together a great game plan. Our guys had the look about them where it didn't matter if the game was Indiana, Utah, or Slick Leonard's driveway. We were going to win, and we did. Bill Daniels was at the game, and afterward he took us out to a party. He was throwing $100 bills around as tips, buying everybody food and drinks. But very early in the celebration, Bill Sharman came up to me and said, Larry, let's go. He didn't have to say anything more. I knew exactly what was next. He wanted to look at films of Kentucky. That's what we did. We went to Bill's hotel room where he had set up a projector. Kentucky took us to 7 games, but I knew we'd win. Zelmo, Willie Wise, Ron Boone, those guys just kept getting better and better the more they played together. And here's the last quote that we're going to have today from Zelmo Beatty. Throughout the playoffs, I kept thinking how Bill Sharman said next year we'll win it all with Zelmo, right after the previous year's finals. Those words were with me on the court every night. Bill never said them again, but he also knew that I'd never forget them. I never concentrated more and played better than I did that season. I was 30, experienced, and my knees hadn't totally given out yet. I was at my peak, and I played for a great coach. That was my most satisfying year of basketball.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Bill Sharman, quite the guy.
Bill Sharman, yeah, Hall of Famer. Zelmo Beatty, also Hall of Famer.
I was gonna say I knew the name, so I would assume great things, but
but yeah, so
inspirational.
they've won the title.
Yep.
They're on the high. They're at the peak. Will they stay there? Let's find out. So the Stars were
It's the
champions.
ABA, so no, they will not. But
We also talked already about them
nothing should happen.
Okay, so the Stars were champions, something a Utah team has yet to match in the years since.
I didn't think about that, but yeah.
However, Sharman resigned from the team to go coach the Lakers.
Oh, okay. Yep, that makes sense.
There was a court case where Sharman was originally ordered to pay the Stars $250,000 in damages for leaving, but that was reversed, and he coached the Lakers to the 1972 title, giving him wins in back-to-back years in 2 different leagues.
Okay, so that's how I know him.
Well, there's a little bit more. He
Oh,
later
sorry.
went on to win 5 more titles with the LA as an executive and is in the Hall of Fame as a player and coach with 11 total championships across his career. So 5 as an executive, 2 as a coach, and
Yeah.
then 5, 7, 4 as a player with the Celtics.
Yeah. Yeah. Dang.
Now, you might assume no Sharman, no playoffs.
Hmm?
Even without Sharman, the Stars played well for the next few years.
Coaching doesn't matter. Who cares?
They were riding the combo of Beatty, Willie Wise, and Ron Boone, who was, when they won a title, was their smooth shooting 6th man, but he kind of moved into more of a starting role as it went on. They made 3 straight finishes on top of the Western Division under Liddell Anderson and then John Mulaney. Not Mulaney. I believe it's pronounced Mulaney, but I could be wrong. It's Mullaney. So maybe Mulaney. I don't know.
Hey, I don't know.
Not that John Mulaney.
Okay, not that John Mulaney.
Unfortunately, they never turned that regular season success into a second title. In the next year, 1972, the Pacers got their revenge in the Western Conference Finals, winning in 7 games on their way to a title. In 1973, they had a rubber match. The 2 teams met again in the Western Division Finals. Indy won it behind a dominant performance from George McGinnis and someone we know from earlier because Donnie Freeman had joined the Pacers that year. So Donnie Freeman was back, and then the Stars topped they did beat the Pacers in 74 to get back to the finals finally after 3 seasons, but at that point, Dr. J was in the league, and they lost to Dr. J's Nets in the ABA Finals. Heading into 1975, Daniels was bleeding money after a few failed business ventures and an unsuccessful run for the governor of Colorado, excuse me. So what's funny about that is I wrote California.
Okay. And
but it's definitely not California.
And
I said Utah because they're in Utah, but it was in Colorado.
Okay.
Without the money to pay Mulaney, the coach walked. He just left the team, presumably to go have a child that would become a successful stand-up comic and then have a really bad drinking problem and then have to go to rehab and then come out and everyone loves him again, which is great. Daniels tried to sell the team to James L.A. Collier, but that guy, after he agreed to buy the team, 2 weeks later, he missed a payment and had to give the team back. He couldn't afford them.
It's cheap. Get it 1 payment out of them,
So,
keep moving on.
On top of that, Beatty and Wise both left the team. They did bring in Pacers legend Roger Brown. I believe Beatty went to the Lakers to join back up with Sharman. I believe is what happened. The team did bring in Pacers legend Roger Brown and signed Walleye Jones from the NBA, but the best move they made that year was signing Moses Malone straight out of high
Mm,
school.
we know him.
Yeah, so the 6'10" big man averaged 19 points, 15 boards, and 1.5 blocks as a rookie to make the All-Star team, and somehow with that stat line, finish in third for Rookie of the Year voting.
Okay, what?
So he
I'd love
lost
to see the
to
other two.
he lost to Marvin Barnes and Bobby Jones, which I didn't really pay I didn't look exactly at stats because obviously they play different positions. I do believe that Bobby Jones had the best win share out of the three. So
Okay,
take that for what it's worth. Bobby
fair
Jones, a
enough.
legendary defender for the Sixers in the 70s. Yeah, 70s, a little bit in the 80s. And then Marvin Barnes, we will talk about later.
Okay, can't wait.
Unfortunately, Brown and Jones, they're both pretty old at that point, and they proved to be firmly on the downswing. They still had Ron Boone, they're still putting up big points, and Moses Malone was obviously promising, but the Stars fell apart. They did make the playoffs, but they lost to the Nuggets in the first round. Then we got to 1976, and things did not get any better. At this point, the owner, Daniels, was pretty much broke, and he tried to merge with the Spirits of St. Louis, which is
Mm, okay.
why Zelma Beatty was getting money from them. The deal ultimately fell through, and the team could not pay any of its players. So the league ceased operations for the Utah Stars in December after the team played just 16 games.
Dang.
Malone and four more players were sold to St. Louis, and Daniels, I didn't really understand why this happened, but Daniels was given a 10% stake in the Spirits. I guess just as part of the deal, so he didn't like
Just yeah.
completely. Anyways,
Don't go to the NBA, please.
he eventually paid back all of the season ticket holders at 8% interest. So Daniels did make good on the people who bought season tickets in
Wow.
Utah. Good for him at least, even though he was. And I also actually I believe that in the 80s he came back into a lot of money by making some really good TV deals. I believe with the Lakers. Now don't quote me on that
Interesting.
because I don't have that
Okay.
written down. I just think I read that somewhere. But he definitely got back into money at some point. And I think it was with the. He definitely did some kind of landmark TV deals, and I think it was
Hmm.
with the Lakers, but I could be wrong. Either way, it was a sad end for one of the most successful franchises in the ABA. The
Yeah, that's
Stars,
crazy.
yeah, the
Sorry.
Stars routinely boasted one of the best home crowds in the league and held a 60% winning percentage across its 6 seasons in Utah. In fact, fan support was so strong that the Spirits were planning to move to Utah in 1976
Oh
before
wow.
the ABA NBA merger happened. So if the team leagues had not merged, Utah would have had a team the next year.
Yeah. It's kind of funny.
Now, fortunately for people in Salt Lake City, they didn't have to wait too long because the Jazz have called Salt Lake City their home since 1979 after leaving New Orleans. And that is the story of the Anaheim Amigos, LA Stars, Utah Stars.
Golly.
Yeah,
It's so crazy how fast this stuff happens. I
it's
mean, obviously
wild.
it's only in retrospect, but like,
Yeah.
oh, we won the title, so then we're gonna like quit.
Yeah, I
It's
mean
just
it's like
crazy.
if we get to 2029 and the Thunder are moved to a different
Yeah.
city.
And it's also like the, they went bankrupt, but then the fan support is so high that another team wants to move there. It's like, how does any of this make any sense? Just a bunch
Uh,
of dummies is
yeah, you
behind the
got
scenes.
a really bad owner. Not wait, he wasn't even a bad owner as much as he just like it was he was had his hands in too many
Yeah.
pockets, right? Like he
Yeah.
was trying to do too much.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously that still happens today, but like, I mean, I think it'd be really hard at this point for a team. Maybe, I don't know. I guess teams still do move because we've seen it quite a bit in football recently. There've been a lot of relocations.
Yeah.
It's just hard for me to imagine like what city if you were gonna pick the next team that would move, who would it be? The Hornets?
Um,
The Wizards? I'm just trying to think of
the
bad teams, like teams that have been
the
bad for a long time.
the Browns, but I don't know why I went straight to football other than the Browns are horrible, but yeah. I'm trying to think of a team that's like a lot of the small town teams I feel like at least have a following, but like you
Yeah,
need like a really crappy owner that just doesn't. I feel like
yeah.
we've weeded out a lot of those guys, so I'm trying to think. I mean, I know there's still rough ones, but like
Yeah.
I don't.
Well, the worst one has so much money it doesn't matter. So,
Which one's that?
the Clippers.
Oh, is he the worst for fans? I mean, I don't think
Not
fans
for
feel that
fans. Yeah,
way.
that's true.
Yeah,
He's the worst for the league, maybe.
I'm talking about like there's been a ton of times in the past where, and I'm a Bengals fan, so I get it. Like the fans are just so apathetic about how terrible the owner is that they're like, I
Yeah.
mean, can't
I mean,
blame anybody for selling the team or buy or for wanting to move it.
honestly, I don't think they would ever leave because the city's so huge. But the worst owner in basketball might, for the fans, might be the Bulls owner
Oh yeah, 100%. Ugh.
because that team is going nowhere fast.
Yeah. And I mean, their fans are like calling on a change.
Yeah.
Obviously they don't want it to not be the Bulls, but it's like
Yeah.
do something.
Please. I mean, it's just that team has been, I don't know. I feel like they got really lucky in the 90s and they have been in a, I mean, they had Derrick Rose, I guess, for a couple years, but
Yeah.
I feel like
That's I
they've
was
been
trying
in,
to think of a team that's like I mean, the Hornets is probably the best one where it's just like so bad for so long that you're like your fans start to turn apathetic. And obviously they don't want their team to leave, but when they start to be like, I can't support this anymore,
yeah.
then that's when an opportunity comes up. But
I mean,
it's
and
not
they,
happening.
yeah, they had a team leave and then they had to make a new team. So there must be
Right.
enough fan support there. Just, I mean, they do have the best, in my opinion, the best announcer guy.
Oh,
I
he
think
is funny.
that guy's really funny.
Yeah.
Mikhail Bridges, how do you do? That's my favorite. That's one of my favorite clips of all time when people are like complaining that he's too loud. So he like,
Oh, yeah.
or one dunk was like very normal. So
Yeah.
good. Yeah, I don't think it will happen. I think obviously I think the thing that's going to happen next is probably expansion. Well,
Yeah.
the thing that's going to happen next is Kawhi Leonard's going to be his contract will be voided and there'll be a bunch of new rules. Although probably not, but
Probably not.
I don't. It doesn't. I've from what I read yesterday, Richard Jefferson claims that the players don't care. So
Didn't he say, I wish I could have done it?
yeah, basically, who
Yeah.
knows? I mean, LeBron just made his second decision.
Oh, my
He's making
gosh.
tons of money.
Someone was like, what do you think it's going to be? And I was like, either like retirement tour this year or
Yeah,
the dumbest ad you've ever seen in your life.
yeah, like the Snoop Dogg. I'm giving up smoking.
My bet was FanDuel, but um,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think. Did you see the JJ Redick clip that came out today about that?
Oh,
Some beat reporter asked him about it, and he was like, "Well, we're not idiots, so we knew it was going to be an ad. Come on,
mm.
like it's like they're like, have you gotten people blowing up your phone with text messages about what it might be?" And he's like, "Well, we're not idiots." It's like, oh my gosh,
I
so
love that.
like very funny, but also very mean to this man.
Yeah.
And he just the guy
Oh
just
boy.
kept I went to school thinking I was going to be a sports reporter. And now that it's like, I mean, I think I could have made it in the 80s.
Mhm.
I could not handle doing it. It's so terrible. It
The
seems like the worst
disdain that
job.
they have for
Like they just won't let you they won't let you just like report, right? You have to
yeah,
like keep plugging and trying to get more and more news. You can't just do a report. Like Pablo
right.
Torre maybe comes the closest, but I he kind of seems like a jerk off, but as like a human being, but he's a good reporter. Um, but
No, I want to be clear. No shots fired at me from to
you
Pablo.
could come for me, Pablo. See what you can find. I
I
got
think he's
nothing.
I think he's funny, but
I just think like the 24-hour news cycle has ruined a lot of stuff but has
yeah,
really ruined sports because
yeah.
like you couldn't I can't say you couldn't pay me to be on Sports Center because you definitely could, but it would take a lot of money for me to be like, yeah, I want to be one of these talking heads on Sports
A
Center
hot
now
take artist. Yeah,
because it's just like you got to say stuff you don't believe in.
right.
I have some hot takes. We're gonna do a hot take off at some point this year before the season,
Mm. Ooh, we're getting
but
close to the season, so we probably should get
well,
started.
so I was gonna say that before we wrapped up. I think the next episode will not be an ABA episode. I believe we'll probably have to do our some hot takes and our NBA preview season or episode. So we'll
Let's
probably
do
be
it.
taking a little bit of a break from the ABA, but yeah, I mean, I have some hot takes. I don't want to say hot takes I don't believe in, which I feel like is happening all the time
Yeah,
because you got to get those clicks, baby. Maybe that's why
I
this
know.
podcast is not more successful. Maybe we should make some more hot takes that we don't believe in.
Uh, Bill Clinton's a terrorist.
Oh my God. Okay, wow.
I don't know.
I don't
Sorry.
depending on who you're with, not a hot take. There are not to get too political in this podcast, but there are a lot of people who believe the Clintons secretly murdered a lot of people.
Oh, oh no.
You haven't heard about this.
Um, I mean, I've heard like the joke made, but I thought it was a joke, I guess.
Oh man, anytime you think something is a joke, you need to know that there are people who believe it with all of their heart,
Oh boy.
and some of them might be in very high levels of office in the United States currently and in the past.
Okay, well, just because we're on the record, I'm kidding, guys. Just chill.
All right, now that we know that Dave believes that Bill Clinton had his political rivals murdered, we will see you next time. Goodbye.
Peace.